Hey, look at that. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the annual Handsome Gentlemen's Gathering, as you can see to my left. My name is Jeremy Atkins. I'm the Director of Public Relations for Dark Horse. You are at the Dark Horse Builds Characters panel. We're here today to talk about new and exciting creator-owned work at Dark Horse. So without further ado, I'm going to let these, as I said before, handsome gentlemen to my left introduce themselves.
My name's Greg Rucka. I'm writing Veil.
My name is
Cricket.
My name is Michael Avon Oeming, and I'm writing and drawing the victories for Dark Horse right now.
I love this man.
We just met.
No, we didn't. We've known each other for years. I'm Bryan JL Glass, and I do Furious for Dark Horse.
I'm Kurt Pierce, and I'm doing a book that will be announced in 5 minutes or something.
Well played.
Kurt also ate Matt Kindt and took his powers. So. I did. Sorry if you're here, Matt Kindt. I don't know. I'm Frank Barbiere. I write the white suits at Dark Horse. And Blackout, but white suits.
My name is Jai Nitz. I write Dream Thief at Dark Horse, and I also have a new book coming out in June called Toshiro that you haven't seen yet. So. I do have a new book called Dream Thief at Dark Horse in a minute. Go figure. And I'm Adam Warren, and I write and draw Empowered.
Woo! All right, so some of our panelists are on a somewhat limited time schedule, so we're going to actually open up and have Greg talk a little bit about Veil. How many of you guys picked up the first issue of Veil?
More importantly, how many of you picked up J.H. Williams' glorious variant cover? Wow, you didn't? Yeah, I assume you guys, there's still some down at the Dark Horse booth.
Yeah, there's
it's beautiful. Who? This guy, you never heard of him.
He's a new guy.
Yeah,
New guy.
He's not going to go very far, but we thought we'd give him a boost, try to hook him onto this train.
Sandman, never heard of him. Sandman.
Yeah, so Veil is a strange story about a strange young woman who is strange. This is the problem we've had with Veil all along. It is very difficult to describe the book without giving away things about the book. So what the book kind of is that is the number 5 cover. Wow. Were we gonna do that?
Spoiler.
Yeah, that's a little spoilery, actually. Okay, well, there's the number 5 cover. It's not the full.
Look, it's gone.
No. It's not the full spoilery cover. Okay, so issue 2 comes out this coming Wednesday, and it will reveal. It will give some answers as to maybe what she is and where she is from, and what is going on. And yes, there will be more and more rats. The one criticism I saw consistently of issue 1 was, I am scared of rats. This was a difficult book for me to read. If you're scared of rats, it's not going to get easier for you. In fact, it is going to get significantly worse.
Rattier.
We are doing things with rats that apparently I have a rat issue. I am working it out. There is a rat I do horrible things to, and it keeps going and going and going. The rats actually are actually kind of important to the story. They actually do matter. So I really don't know how else to talk about the book except to say that I think Tony Fajula, who's the artist on it, is doing outstanding work. I think he's doing work unlike anything else on the market, and I am having an absolute blast with this. And you don't have to take the baby away. I don't mind. I had 2.
What kind of
That's
asshole
all right.
brings a baby to a panel? That's my baby, everybody. Spoiler.
You better explain that one before you get beaten to death.
This guy.
Oh,
I'm that guy.
That baby really is not comfortable with rats, by the way.
So I can understand that. So I don't know if there are any quick questions about Veil. I have to leave very shortly. So the beatdown, yes. Go for the ankles first. In lieu of ankle, go for knee, and he can't get away. It'll be great.
So actually, I have a question for you, Greg. How did you and Scott settle on Tony's work?
In a really, really, really boring way. Scott said, metaphorically, Scott sort of put me in a headlock and said, "You're going to do something for Dark Horse. What are your ideas?" And I said, "I got this one idea." And he said, "That's the one." And then he kind of, we started talking artists, and he brought me samples. And one of the samples he brought me was Tony's, and it was actually a fairly different style than what he's doing in Veil. And one of the things that I knew about Veil was that she was going to spend most of the first issue undressed. And I really wanted all right, and one of the things that I really wanted, I was fairly concerned. One of the things that the book is about is how men look at and treat women. And Tony's style in these samples, I thought, would allow for less cheesecake. But the character could be pretty, but it wouldn't be like, "Oh, wow, look at those tits." And there was something almost Disney-esque about that initial art. And then we got the Veil pages, and it was like, he was just like, "That style? What was that? That was Tuesday." No, I have developed this whole new style. And it has worked exceptionally well. One of the things I love about what Tony does is that so much of the book is about gaze. It's about how we perceive things, and in particular how people look at things. And he flips really effortlessly between these very subjective panels where it really is a subjective point of view and this more abstracted, objective point of view, which I think is, in particular in the first issue, was crucial. Because we didn't want it to be a whole... It could not become a spanking book, for lack of a better phrase. And I really feel that Tony was just beautifully successful. I think his storytelling is wonderful. I really love his work.
There's some pretty epic punishment in store of the first issue for those who were using it as such, though, I'd say.
Yes, yes. And there's a death in issue 4 that I am really proud of. There is a death in issue 4 that if it executes the way I'm hoping it will, it'll be one of those ones where you're like, that is so cool and so ghastly at once. And I've always wanted to write a death, which makes people go, cool, disgusting. So.
Awesome. Hey, look, there's some ghastly images there.
Yes.
Your cover with the eye sideways.
Yes. The most difficult thing to write ever? This is up there. I'm not joking. This has been really very, very challenging. This has been bricklaying to the extreme. It's really cutting each piece and trying to make sure it fits. And you can see in that one, there's a bit where the guy in the glasses on the left, there's that bubble that's in red and black. He's actually speaking a language I developed. I mean, I literally made the language he is speaking. One of the things that Scott and I have talked about is this is the first of many potential stories, and that language will be used, and ideally we're going to get to a point where people can figure out what's being said. Nice. They will actually be able to decode it. It's very simplistic, but it is its own real language. And that was brain-bending time. I mean, that's been, and there are elements of this, I feel like I'm juggling burning grenades. I mean, it really is just, this has been very, very challenging, very rewarding, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say this is up there. This is up there.
As you are further in your career, do you challenge yourself more, or do you just get more selective about what you do?
Again, to be perfectly honest, I think I had gotten a little complacent. I think it's dangerous when writers get complacent, and I don't think I had realized it. I think it's important to scare yourself. I think it's important to sit down and set yourself story tasks and wonder if you're going to be able to execute it, and give yourself butterflies about it. And both Veil here and Lazarus at Image have been doing that for me. You know, it's real easy to find the tools in the writer's toolbox that work well. And I'm sure everybody can speak to this. And to rely on those tools. It becomes interesting if you decide to upend the toolbox and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to use this thing. I'm going to try this thing. Or I'm going to approach subject matter that is potentially really problematic. Not for the sake of being sensational, but because you don't know if you're going to be able to adequately represent it, you know?
Fear is a good motivator for most of us. Like
Yeah.
trying new stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got to, you know, writing and the arts in general are a profession, I think, that do not reward complacency.
Right.
You need to be, the next thing you are working on needs to be better than the last thing. It may fail at it, but we're all reaching to write something tomorrow that'll be better than it was today, to draw something tomorrow that will be more effective, more elegant, more evocative than it is today. Well, I'm just, hi, this is the Greg Rucka panel at Dark Horse Comics.
We gotta
It's
get
powered
going
by
when we have to.
Creator. Sorry, guys. I feel really badly.
No.
Well, and before we move on, because I know you got to get going, one question I have.
I'm sorry.
You know, this is kind of your first real horror work.
Yeah.
Was that sort of a choice that you made until Scott strong-armed you into it, or was it just sort of there'd never been the right story you wanted to tell in that genre?
Again, I don't think of stories in terms of genre, and so when the first I realized that this was a horror story was when I was on the horror comics panel in New York, at New York Comic Con, and I was like, I'm on a panel about horror comics? Why am I here? Dark Horse does horror. Why am I here? And it was only then when I was like, well, yeah, I guess it is. I mean, what with the bloody, disgusting rats and people dying and weird stuff. I didn't think about it as a horror story. That said, I did actively see. I don't think I'm good at scaring people. I think if
Shit at me all the time, man.
yeah, but that's real.
You're a big guy, boys.
That's real. That's me going, hey, did you hear about the ozone layer today? Oh, look what Russia's doing. That's the. I think the best thing I can do is maybe unsettle or disquiet folks, and if I can do that, I'll be pretty content. But I'm not sure I'm going to send anybody. I'm not sure I'm going to write anything that's going to make people go ah and drop the book and hide under the couch or be like I'm afraid to read it. There are very few. I think comics is very difficult to do good horror in. The nature of the medium, I think, makes it very difficult. I think there are. That said, there are writers much better than I at doing it. So.
All right. Well, I would disagree with you, but thank you.
That's
So
kind of you.
we'll let Greg get to his next
Thank you.
engagement.
I apologize. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I was hoping to be able to talk to you, and it's not enough time. I love you all. I'll see you.
See you back
You,
on
I'll see you. Yeah.
See you back on Facebook.
That's right.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
And Matt Kindt, you can now fill Greg's empty spot. This worked out perfectly. This was actually all planned.
We prepared a name tag for you as well.
Awesome.
Wait. This is another person I wanted to love to at some point.
Hello, goodbye. Wow, that really does look like it was planned, because that happened to be the next image. Matt, Mind Management now, we're on what issue?
20, I think
20,
just came
right?
out. Yeah.
So how many of you guys have read Mind Management? For those of you who haven't, Matt, maybe give us sort of an overview of the story. And
It's about spies with mind powers.
that is accurate, ladies and gentlemen.
No, there's more to it, but yeah, it's about a woman who's trying to find out what this crazy secret organization was, and she travels the world trying to find these ex-agents of mind management and try to figure out who they were, what they did, and then there's this. It unravels into like a big mystery with spies in it and mind powers.
And actually, this particular issue, I believe this is the issue number 24 cover, correct?
Yeah, that's 24.
Dark Horse, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a relatively new thing that we're doing. We're actually putting together a program now where for a lot of these guys who are doing kind of ongoing series for us, we're trying to find books that are actually really good entry points so that you don't have to go, oh man, I missed the last 24 issues. There's no way I can get onto this now. So this particular issue is actually going to be in that program called Starting Points, which will be, this is on sale in July, I believe. Yep.
Does that cover fold out, or is that wrap around?
Yeah, if you go back to that cover, I'm going to say Dark Horse is my favorite publisher because they let me, they've let me do any crazy idea I can come up with. So I was doing the cover for this, and my editor was like, man, we need that cover. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I had the idea to do a wraparound cover that wrapped around, but then the front of the cover is that right side of the page, so it folds in half, and then the back cover is actually the left side, so the logo and everything's on the back. And I had that idea, and I gave it to my editor, and I was like, please, let's do this. And I had this whole argument for like why it would work and what we could do and how retailers could display it in a certain way, and it would be okay. And I had the argument ready, and then Brendan, the editor, I don't know if he's here, but he's like, before I could even get my argument out, he's like, yeah, no worries, people expect something weird and whipped out, crazy from you, so it's no problem. But yeah, so it's going to be great. There's nothing on the cover except him walking, which will be cool.
Hell yeah.
A couple interiors to show you guys in here. This is from the issue, I believe, that's on sale this Wednesday, right? I think.
Yeah, this is issue 20, right? Isn't this? Yeah, it just came out.
Oh, that's last right. Wow, we even got the seating right. Amazing.
Yeah, so the victories, it's always been a hard pitch for me because really it is just my take on realistic superheroes, which, everybody kind of does that, but I think mine is from my unique perspective. A lot of it came out of going through therapy some years ago, where I talked not only about my issues, but my friends and families and stuff, and as I was talking to my therapist, like just story ideas started coming out of my head, how to use a lot of these issues, whether I had them or my mother had them and stuff, and how they would relate to characters. And then I just took my general love of conspiracies and bizarre ancient alien stuff and put that in together for the victories. So that's basically it. I mean, that's we just announced we're wrapping up issue 15 will be the end of this series. But that's counting the DHP stories and stuff. It's 21 issues of stuff. And even though they are story arcs, the entire thing is one full story. So when we have it all complete, from the very first story, which concentrates on Faustus, to the series, which shares all the other characters and nemesis and stuff, it all wraps up into one, hopefully big, coherent story. I have a question. Yeah, I wrote and drew this. This is the very first series that I've done everything on, with the exception of the colors, which is Nick Filardi, who works with us on everything. He's my second wife. Yeah, it was weird because I was for other people when I write a full script. For myself, I was writing Marvel style, and sometimes was so loose in Marvel style, I just ended up going in completely different directions or forgot what I actually meant to do, which was fun and challenging. It was definitely by the seat of your pants kind of writing. And Scott's been amazing at being able to reel me in when I'm off focus or it's too esoteric, or he's just been a great, almost a writing partner, other than just an editor. So, and only Dark Horse would allow me to do this kind of stuff. I mean, the first issue was just Faustus being mopey, and then you find out not until issue 6 why he's being mopey. Yeah, I've just been having a really good time at exercising demons and getting it out on paper. So it's also been a form of therapy, and I'm looking forward to doing something much more lighthearted. I'm kind of done with the dark for a while.
But it's actually for how many of you guys read the first series, the first trade paperback? $10. If you don't have it now, you can pick it up at the Dark Horse booth for only $10. But actually, as you mentioned, Faustus was kind of the central character in that arc, and I think that this final arc is going to be kind of coming back to him.
Yeah, we bring it all back. Some of the seeds that I planted in the very first miniseries, hoping that we would get to do more, definitely come into fruition here. And it goes back into Faustus. And like, even the conspiracy stuff ties into the way that I look at. I believe that conspiracies in society are the equivalent of our own anxieties and neurosis, just done on a larger social scale. You know, can't believe that JFK was shot in front of all of us the way it was. So it couldn't be as simple as some dude going crazy. It has to be a larger explanation to it and stuff. And we kind of do that with our own lives. You have something bad happen to you when you're a kid, and then that sets you off to assume something bad is going to happen at any moment. And you know, so I think society and psychology are very closely related. And hopefully, while it seems like in the middle I'm going into these weird esoteric ancient aliens and crazy conspiracy stuff, it actually ties all back into the way we think. I hope anyway. And the thing I was most interested in is why superheroes or why anybody acts the way they act. You know, and you find out their stories from their childhood, and you're like, oh, that's really the compass that motivates you for the rest of your life. So that's the stuff that I was really interested in doing, which is obviously a hard pitch. I mean, that's kind of hard to explain to people, because usually when you say realistic superheroes, you just think sex and violence, and there's definitely sex and violence in there, but that's truly not what it's about at all. Put everything in there from there's weight issues that I saw my mother go through, and pretty much everybody I've known, to anxiety issues, eating disorders, and all kinds of stuff. But hopefully it plays out in a positive way. It's not just there to be mopey or some leftover emo stuff, you know.
All right, looks like that's where our order of seating falls apart. Mr. Adam Warren, Empowered.
Yeah, actually, this is the cover to Empowered Internal Medicine, the latest one-shot featuring art by the great Brandon Graham. Yeah. And actually, it was definitely kind of a good way to go out on the one-shots. This is actually going to be the last of the kind of isolated one-shots of Empowered. I'm hoping down the road to get do more guest artist work, but it's going to be on a more kind of sprawling scale, hopefully multiple issues or miniseries or that kind of thing. But that'll require a little more advanced planning and trafficking, so those won't be appearing for a bit. But I'm hoping to branch out, because I've actually gotten some crap over the one-shots being not delivering the whole kind of emotional range and punch of a full volume of Empowered, which is understandable considering it's 20-something pages versus 208. So what can you do? But so I'm hoping to do. I've actually talked to some pretty exciting artists about doing stuff for doing some different stories with focus on different characters for future ones. And in the meantime, I'm working on Empowered Volume 9, which is loosely slated for probably a year from now. And that's how far ahead the book market is. The book market deadlines have become horrifying. But yeah, I'm working on that and hoping to have that out next year. And it's been a lot of fun, actually. Kind of the series started off, obviously, from a low point in my career when I had to do commissions of damsels in distress, which eventually started wondering what was going through the head of these characters. Like, could there be an actual story on this as opposed to just sheer creepiness? And in a way, it kind of went in all different directions and kind of became a deconstruction of some of the tropes, while simultaneously showing the tropes. And so I like multiple levels of, it's like, am I being serious or not? Or is this commentary or meta commentary or commentary on the commentary kind of thing? So,
you bomb that narrating Kid Stays in the Picture. That's what you sound like.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, it's actually, and if I had had any idea this was going to be my longest continuing project, I might have not ever had the gamey stuff kind of in the story to begin with. But it's sort of a part of what it is. But
how did you come to work with Brandon Graham on this particular issue?
I've known Brandon kind of off and on for geez, I don't even know how long. But 2 years ago, when I was here last year, I saw his Prophet, and that Prophet really kind of blew me away, and actually got me back into dropping by the comic store and picking up comics on a regular basis and doing my little bit to actually support the field monetarily in some sad way. But,
it's not sad, it pays my rent.
There you go. And I just love what he was doing with that, and I was really excited to actually pitch him on something, actually doing something with me, and he was cool with it, and it worked out really well. Just kind of the thing, as a writer-artist, as a writer artist, you have more control over the whole thing and how production proceeds as well as what the results are like. But working with another artist is like kind of a wild card thing where it introduces elements and kind of positive points that you couldn't have done, that it can really take it a lot further, or at least in a different direction than I might have done on my own. So it was a lot of fun.
I'm moving over to a new series for Dark Horse, Furious.
Furious is the story of a former child star, Cadence Lark, who grows up to become a tabloid trash celebrity. Insert any of the people we've seen in real life who we watch them deconstruct, crash, and burn in the media before our very eyes. And in the case of the story of Furious, she, an experimental drug rehab, not only cleans her up, but gives her superpowers. And she looks in the mirror for the first time with clarity in 10 years and says, oh my God, I have become a monster. And superpowers in her mindset lead her to believe, like, wow, well, everyone in stories, in movies and comics, if people love superheroes, I can use these powers. I'll become a superhero. I will redeem this tragedy that I have made of my life. So the series ends up operating on. There's superhero elements, but it's more so an exploration of how our media culture, we build up our heroes and then we laugh as we destroy them before our eyes. I had the premise for the character for a long time, but it was the passing 2 years ago of Whitney Houston that really solidified I needed to make her a star. I think Patton Oswalt did a tweet following the passing of Whitney Houston that I don't know why everyone is so surprised. We watched this happen. She died in slow motion before our very eyes. And that I realized was the sad, tragic hook. Replace superpowers with superstardom, and then add superpowers back in again. And so that is her story. We're exploring the inner character's landscape. She has a lot that she's processing, family tragedies, everything that makes these spoiled celebrities into the creatures that they become. I mean, no one... like right now, we're watching Justin Bieber implode on our social media, and what was I saying there? Yeah, I had a point. I'm much better when I'm behind my table at the booth. Yeah. Oh, we're starting as a 5-issue miniseries. Boy, I just. Yeah, 5-issue miniseries. So she's, darn, I completely am blowing this. You're all so patient with me here. Thank you.
Look how fame has transformed you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're exploring fame. We're exploring the female issue of she never sets out to call herself Furious. She wants to be the beacon. She wants to inspire people, encourage people. She wants her good deeds to inspire others, and she has this horrible speech because she herself can't write. And I'm the beacon, let my light shine, and blah, blah, blah. And the first time the news media actually catches her on film with a reporter present, she's beating a pair of serial molesters to bloody pulps. And she spins around with this their blood all over her, and she proceeds to give her speech. Call me the beacon for my light shine. Oh, shit. And she flies away. And that night on the news, the reporter shows the image of her covered in blood and freeze frame and declares, the woman I have dubbed Furious. And the moment the news media saddles you with a phrase, how does she can want to be the beacon to her heart's content, but now the media has labeled her. So she's got that battle going on. She thought superheroes would redeem her, and instead superheroes is just another track to crash and burn on. So hijinks and train wrecks will ensue.
All right, another new series for Dark Horse. for Frank Barbiere.
I just wanted to say, Brian, that Furious is the only comic I've ever read on the subway, and 3 different people asked me what I was reading.
Wow.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Anyway, the White Suits. But yeah, I'm really, really happy to have White Suits at Dark Horse. It's a book I've been developing forever, and Toby Cypress, who does the art in our covers, is an insane talent. He's so good, and I'm just so happy that Dark Horse took a look at this and said we need to publish this, because I was waiting for my editor, Chris Warner, to be like, why is there no color? Why does it look like this? But he's just been helping us foster this for so long, and now that it's out, I kind of can't believe it looks like this. And it's a story about a gang of criminals called the White Suits who've kind of terrorized the Russian underworld during the 80s, then disappeared. And they resurface in modern New York and are kind of going around killing all the gang leaders of the gangs of New York, and again, causing a controversy. But our entry points are a female FBI agent who's kind of chasing the White Suits as they think that they killed her father, and an amnesiac who knows he used to be part of this gang, and when he sees them resurface, all these memories come rushing back. So it's all very grounded in that hook of who are the White Suits. We will find out. So bear with us. It's a 4-issue mini, and I'm really, really happy with it. We actually did shorts in Dark Horse Presents. It was issue 11, then issue, I want to say 19 or 20 or 20 and 21, but it really helped me to build the universe. And the shorts were 3 kind of short stories that just fleshed out this narrative and this timeline for us. Now that we're on the series, it's just been great to write, and to get all of this into 4 issues has been so really teachable for me as a writer, because I feel like we have accomplished it, and I'm really proud with what we've achieved. And again, it's beautiful, and Toby's doing the best work of his career. So swing by Dark Horse. I think issue 2 is no longer at the booth because it's sold out, but issue 1 might be there. But issue 2 just came out last week, or 2 weeks ago, and 3 will be out in April, and 4 in June. But yeah, I'm really excited, and it looks better than I ever thought it would. So.
Toby's a legend, man. Like with other artists, it's just when he was announcing you guys were doing this, I was like, how did you get, what, you have blackmail on him or something?
I sat next to him in 2009 at New York, or 2010 when he released Rod Racer.
Yeah. And
just like walked up to him as like a fanboy, like, oh my God, this is the most impressive comic I've ever seen. And he was just so nice and so real. And when we started doing this at Dark Horse, I was just emailing people, and Chris was like, oh, well, just send emails to artists you like. And I emailed him on a whim. He's just like, oh, yeah, cool. I'll get on. And
awesome, man. It's beautiful.
luckily, again, I've since like really fostered a friendship with him. He's a great person, and his art is just so unique and iconic. And I told him straight up, I want this to be your book. I want this to be the book that puts Toby Cypress on the map. And I think he really took that to heart. And every page is beyond what I could expect as a writer. So if you like art and new original voices in comics, I guess I would say please check it out. And again, the story is a fun crime narrative rooted in mystery, and there's violence and guns, but at the core of it, it's really about the choices we make and what violence can do to you. And when you use violence to solve your problems, does it put you on a higher level or a lower level? And that's the fun of having 2 protagonists. We're going to very clearly see where they get taken along this ride. So.
And feel free to read it on the train so people ask you about it.
They might ask you to put it away because it's violent, like this is a public place, but yeah, no more.
All right, Dream Thief. We've done 1 series so far. Jai, tell us a little bit about maybe kind of an overview of the series for those who haven't read it, and then give us an idea of what's going to be happening in series 2.
Sure. So far, I just want to be clear. We've had horror and rats, mind spies, and secret organization, therapy with superheroes and dark stuff. We've had Adam coming from a dark place making art for weird fanboys, the drug destruction of celebrities, and then how violence doesn't solve your problems. My comic is about justice and good stuff, which is why there's murder and death, and the lead character opens up page 1 of the first book in another girl's bed and tries to get his story straight with his best friend, because who hasn't done that? And so anyway, hey, geez, everybody turned on me like I just yelled at a baby or something.
You monster.
You're terrible. Dream Thief is a book about a less than good guy who gets possessed by murdered ghosts when he falls asleep. So then they wear his body like a suit, and they go and kill the person that killed them. So he wakes up in a room with a dead body that he just murdered and doesn't know how he got there. And I'm method, so I do this a lot. And, but
That's why you don't take
exactly. But so yeah, him being in a couple of scotches, and we're gonna live Dream Thief in Seattle. But we did a miniseries that came out last year, and Scott Alley, I sent it to him, and he approved it, and I couldn't believe it because I'd never worked for Dark Horse before, so I didn't know how anything worked really. I mean, I'd worked everywhere else. I'd never worked at Dark Horse, and I sent Scott the book, and he really responded to it and liked it. And the reason that's weird is because like a lot of these guys, like Mike Oeming and Matt, they've been working on independent books forever. They've got such a great track record where you can say, this guy did this book, he did Powers, it's great, or Matt, he did Pistol Whip, and you read that and you go, geez, these guys are great, or Adamant, God, how long his wonderful career is. I didn't have any signature book. I'd been doing a ton of stuff, and I didn't have anything that I could really hang my hat on. And when I pitched Dream Thief, I was aware of that this is kind of like I need to get my head right and do a book that I really care about. And I found an artist that lives less than a mile from me in Lawrence, Kansas, which is bananas. And his name's Greg Smallwood, and he'd never drawn a comic book before. And he has turned in he does pencils, inks, colors, and letters on the book. And he's amazing. He's the most amazing collaborator I've ever found. And like I said, he lives less than a mile from me, so we get together all the time. So we get to truly have like a 50-50 collaboration where we sit in the same room, and I'll have written a full script, and he'll have his ideas for art, but then we get to sit down and break it down together about this guy and his life and how this, how this is messing with him, or how this changes what he does, and how, we talk about it kind of like Pixar, and yeah, boy, what a simple comparison that is for me. But when we talk about Pixar, that like the guys there, they write a script, and then they sit down and break it down with their best friends and build it back up together better. And I really feel like Greg and I are doing that. I really feel like we are, sitting down with story and breaking it down and putting it back together. And it's a story about a guy named John Lincoln, like I said, who is not a very good guy. And then what happens to you when worse things happen. And I guess the nutshell is it's like a reverse quantum leap. Instead of him jumping into other people's bodies and making their lives better, it's other people jump into his body and make his life worse. And we did that last year. Like I sent it to Scott, and he responded to it. And then Dark Horse really got behind us. And again, you got to remember, I didn't have a signature book. Greg had never drawn a comic before, so it was basically these two nobodies coming into Dark Horse with a book. And as it got produced, there were little things that everybody in the team at Dark Horse helped me out, whether it was the marketing people and the production people and the publicity people, and we did every little thing, and I cashed in every favor I'd ever had, so that when I turned in the book, it was done, and I'd given it to my friends and said, please give me a quote to promote the book. So when we launched it, we had Matt Fraction and Jonathan Hickman and Grant Morrison and guys like that gave us quotes to say the book is good. So I was like, I don't care who you like in comics, somebody you like has said my book is good, so you can't say no. And then when the reviews came in, the reviews were really good, so I was like, aha, so now you really have to buy it. And then when the book, when it got in people's hands, people were like, hey, this is different. It's not what I expect from, any other company. And I think that all of us have kind of echoed that we have all said, thank God Dark Horse took a shot on me, because I felt like I needed to tell this story, and I think we've all found an audience, and all of us have had people respond to it. And we are here. I am here in Seattle today. I've never been to Seattle, never been in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm here because Emerald City and Dark Horse had me come out to announce that we're doing Dream Thief 2, that we just announced it this week in previews. We're getting a sequel because you guys all responded so well to it. Yay. So there's more murder and drugs and mayhem and possessions. And but we're launching the new series in June. It's called Dark Horse Escape, and it picks up where the last one was, but it continues the idea that, not unlike Quantum Leap, it's almost episodic, that you can read any given issue and go, I got a full story out of that, but then also build a mythology of why this happened to this guy, and his whole life going down the drain, and then kind of building it back up again. So I'm super proud of it. I think it's I think it's my favorite thing I've ever done. Greg's my favorite collaborator I've worked with. Dark Horse is my favorite company I've ever worked with, and we have cool stuff like at my table and at the Dark Horse booth that we did like paper crafts. So like we printed a mask that you can cut out yourself, and you can get possessed by ghosts. And we have paper dolls of the characters. And like the first time we did it, he came with a bong and a shotgun and a brick of cocaine. And then my people would be at my table, and the kids would be like, "Ooh, paper dolls!" Like, no paper dolls for you, no paper dolls for you. But still, the wonderful people at Dark Horse have seen fit to help us promote this book this way, to where, again, it's something that everybody, I have something for everybody. You can have free stuff, and you can pay for stuff, or you can go get it online or your Kindle or whatever. And I've never really had that before, so I feel like really grateful that I can tell all of you and all the people that do this that it's there and it's good and it's awesome, and yay, we can share it together. And then but mine's a good thing. These guys do dark stuff, and mine's a very good thing. I'm a wholesome person. Remember that at my acquittal.
All right, speaking of announcements. Oh.
Wow.
I knew we were missing someone. I know. So, Sundowners is actually a new series from Tim Seeley. And it's going to be, actually, I think it's an ongoing, right, Scott? So this is going to be a new ongoing series from Tim at Dark Horse. This is actually the first time we've done an ongoing with Tim. Tim has done some other series for us. He also, we do a lot of dark stuff at Dark Horse, I'm realizing.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, we did a comic about a love affair between a serial killer and a vampire that Tim wrote. So that's actually why he's not here, is he's too dark even for this panel. And also, he's writing another book for us, The Occultist, which is part of our superhero line. And then Sundowners is going to be the next thing that we have from Tim, and that's going to be launching in August. Some interiors to show you guys.
Who did is Tim writing and drawing it? Or?
No, man, thanks, Tim. You've really put us on the spot today. No, I am blanking on the artist's name right now.
He's awesome.
He is really great, though. Look at that. Yeah. He does great work. I will. Scott, can you Google that or something? I don't know. Right.
He's also the artist on Tim's Jack Crappy one shot that we're doing.
Yep. While you guys are asking questions, I will find this out in this little magic box that I have in my pocket. All right. So, speaking of announcements, Kurt. Hey, welcome to Dark Horse.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Well, this is our comic Pop. Before I start talking at you about what it is, I just like to draw attention to Jason Copeland, who's actually here. He's the artist on the book. It's sort of a comic book that takes the idea of manufactured pop stars, literally. So we're saying, hey, these people that feel totally artificial to you, they sort of are. They're grown in artificial wombs, basically made to appeal to you, to make you drink Coca-Cola. Want an Audi, all that kind of fun stuff. And it's sort of about, on the cover here, we have our character, Elle, who is one of these pop stars, and she sort of escapes from this facility before she's sort of due to basically be sold. And she escapes this sort of small town, and the first person she meets is basically the local stoner who's about to kill himself. So it's a really happy book. Like, yeah. But yeah. So there's awesome. lots of there's lots of fun stuff in it, as you can see. People.
Thanks to everyone for coming to our YA line panel. All of you librarians are really great for being here. Thank you.
But yeah, it's just sort of we're sort of I like to think of it kind of like Spring Breakers, where it's like we're looking at all the awful stuff about mass culture, but we're also sort of thinking like there is something appealing about that. Like if you could be Justin Bieber in your hotel room with a brick of cocaine doing whatever you want, you might want to do that too. So we're just kind of, just gazing into the abyss.
The day is young.
Kurt and Jason are two of my favorite people in comics, so I'm so happy to see them here. So
checks in the mail.
On planet Earth.
I'm one of my favorite people on planet Earth. That was a joke.
Off the record.
Just to let you guys know.
All right, so we've only got sort of a few minutes left. So do we have any questions out there in the audience?
Joker.
I was actually wondering,
John.
John Nitz.
John Nitz.
Okay. You mentioned your story is like a full story. If you just pick up any of the comics.
Yeah.
I was curious. I'm trying to write something similar to that idea, but if you ever struggled to make sure that you also had the continuation of the longer story.
Sure. Besides writing comic books, I teach film at the University of Kansas. I teach classical comic books and film. And one of the things we talk about a lot is story structure, and how one thing that we kind of lose in comics is finality, because Batman can never end. Like, Batman's been published continuously for over 70 years, and you can't write a Batman story that you could write the last Batman story all you want. Batman's coming out the next day. Like, you can't stop it. So when you're doing your own thing, you can. That when you're writing your own project, and obviously we're all talking about create our own work, that you can do whatever you want. And, you know, I can have any character die at any time. I can have any character go and find Jesus if I want. It doesn't matter. And I can talk all about that. And I can make it a farce, or I can make it serious. And those, like what Mike was talking earlier, though, is that's the beauty, is you have somebody like an editor like Scott who will rein you in when you have gone off the deep end,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, when you have a good editor and a good helping hand with you, you can talk about the thing that you're really trying to say. And for us, the second arc of Dream Thief is really about fathers and sons, and it's about, you know, our relationships with our fathers and so on and so forth. I was terrified of my dad growing up. My dad was a giant Viking out of Central Casting. He's 6'4", 380 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. He's a monster of a human being. His bones weigh more than I do. So I always, you know, that's something that, like Mike was talking about. You work through an issue or something like that, but you can have a finality to it, and you can end it and move on. And the beauty of what we're all doing is, like, I know Frank and I talked about this a lot, that with White Suits, people are like, you didn't answer every question in issue 1. And he's like, yeah. You know, but because, and with Dream Thief, the first arc, we end it, it says, the end, not the end. And people are like, you didn't answer every question about the mythology of your book. I go, I know, because I want to do more. And hopefully they'll let me. And they did, so yay. Everyone wins, right. But at the same time, when you understand story structure and you understand how stuff works, you know that everything has to end somewhere. You know that some people have to have a closure, otherwise it's just, you know, something else is going to happen, and there's no completing the circle of satisfaction of the story. That you have to have somebody at the end goes, and now I'm removing myself from this continual cycle of whatever it is. So when you're writing, you have to think about that, and you know, we don't have corporate masters. We can do whatever we want, and hopefully the fine people at Dark Horse will publish it. And if they do, then we all get along and everyone wins. Like, we all just clap for it. So, you know, when you're thinking about it, don't put a limit on yourself of having to go on and on and on and on. Think about, I want to tell my story the way I do it, and what the unique thing I bring to it, and then you'll sit up here.
Nice.
I think that's the trick of a serialized format, though. Like, I had that problem because I'd never done a monthly book.
Right.
And
we talked about that the other day.
Yeah, and I couldn't go into it not knowing how it was going to end, you know? So
Right.
The trick is to build a story where you have some flexibility in the middle, or like at the between points, that you can, if you have ideas, you can add them, you know, but then you always have an end point that you're striving towards.
Matt and I were talking about this the other day, that he had an end point that he could build in immediately if he had to, like, you know, because you didn't know what sales would be like, because it's still, you know, money talks, and if our books don't sell, they don't make Dream Thief 2, but, you know, so he had an idea where he's like, and then if I have to end it, I will, and I won't cry, but,
Right.
you know, but then buddy loves his stupid book, and then, and, you know, and you feel good about your book a little bit until you see then their #1 book on their list is always My Management.
Coming from the guy who hasn't paid his dues yet.
Quiet you!
I'm just kidding.
Matt Kindt changed
I'm jealous.
Matt
I'm
Kindt
jealous.
changed
It took me
my
10
life.
years to get where you are now. So.
Matt Kindt changed my life. I say that honestly. If you come to my table, I'll tell you why he did. And I'm not, Matt, do I always say this? He did. He changed my life. And he's like, begrudging. Matt changed my life. I'll tell you why if you come to my table. And I'll give you a free mask.
And cocaine.
And a lot of cocaine. How do you think I get like this? So, Mike Oeming? I got Hitler's cocaine.
Any other questions?
For the entire table, as creators, writers, artists, how do you guys get yourself out of a corner, paint yourself to a corner? You know, for a writer, if you've got a story to a point where it's just not
I want to talk real quick, and I'm going to give you a fortune cookie. Then I'm not going to talk again on this question. How about that? William Wyler, I believe, said if you have a problem in Act 3, you really have a problem in Act 1.
Yep.
So that's it. If you get to a corner, you probably painted yourself in it way earlier, and you need to rework from the beginning. Maybe you don't have the chance to go back and fix that, but hopefully you do because it's your story and you're telling it your way. Now I'm going to shut up. You guys go.
Yeah, that's why you figure out the ending first, and then there is no corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I found is the easiest way is you treat your character like a real human being and ask the character, what do they want? It's very much an acting thing. What is your motivation? So you point them or you paint them into this corner, and usually the corner is the result of you want to get them someplace, but the situation doesn't allow them to get to where you want them to go, so you painted them into a corner. Stop and look at the character and go, if this character was a real flesh and blood human being, what do they want when they entered that scene that led them to the corner? Where are they going to take you? And 9 times out of 10, that character will get you out of the corner, punch through the wall, or backtrack, or do something. Yeah.
It's all structure. All writing is structure, and I hate pre-writing. I always hate outlining. But the fun thing is that structure is just more of a roadmap, like everyone's saying, knowing where you're going. And story is conflict. And the example I used to give, like, to middle schoolers as a writing teacher is, if you tell me about going down to the supermarket and buying milk, and your story goes, I woke up, I went to the supermarket, I bought milk, that's not a story. That's recounting buying milk, but I went down to the supermarket, tried to buy milk, and the milk store had disappeared. You introduce conflict into the story. And I feel like what Bryan said, a lot of times when you paint yourself into a corner, you don't know what your character wants anymore. There's no conflict. And really you just need to sit and identify and look at your own roadmap and think about, how do I keep them from getting what they want? I'll take $40 now.
Yeah, and it's why it's important to study the basics of story structure. You know, it seems like paint by numbers and stuff, but you know, just figure out the story structure, hero's journey, all that stuff, and then you'll be able to avoid those problems before they even happen, and put your own twist on that stuff.
It's like building a puzzle where you made every piece.
Yeah.
I'm sort of on the same page with Bryan. I think stories are really alive, and so if you're trying to force, sometimes when you're stuck there, you're trying to force something that, you know, doesn't need to happen, or it's not where the story wants to go. So, I mean, you do need structure, that kind of thing, to, you know, get anywhere. But for me, when I'm stuck, I think it's like sometimes it helps to just throw all that away and see what feels right. Well, I keep, where I write, I have a bookshelf, and I have sort of all the stuff that like really does it for me there. So sometimes if I'm just, you know, not vibing, I'll just go look at, you know, something that really just blows my mind. So, and even if it's, you know, even if it's like a new comic, like when the white suits came out, not to like, you know, kiss Frank's ass or whatever.
But
like, I was really into the paneling and stuff and that, like, that Toby was doing. So, you know, I reread that a couple times, and when I was thinking of, you know, how I want to write the book, how I want to lay it out, I would just, you know, if I hit a wall, just check that out, or, you know, just
what
look
would
at
Frank
whatever.
Barbiere do? Now, artists are so inspiring, like, because, again, as a writer, the fun is you write, and they reinterpret what you write, and you see it again from the outside. But as a writer, I think the best book on writing I've ever read that I tell everyone to read and I love is John Truby's Anatomy of Story. And he was a screenwriting consultant and gives a lot of examples and really subverts a lot of 3-act structure and focuses on character and character desire. And I would recommend that to anybody who is a writer. It's a great resource with a lot of practical advice.
there's no skeleton key.
Yeah.
There is no skeleton key.
But buy that book. It's
Buy
great.
that, yeah. I eat Twizzlers. My spirit animal is a Twizzler. And I will just sit there and pound a bag of Twizzlers while I stare at the wall. And I talk to, and everybody here, we all have a different thing. That one of my favorite things is Jason Aaron. He said, it took me years to convince my wife I was really working when I was staring at the wall. And that's it, is that it's not, like I said, there's no skeleton key. It's what does it for you, And, I think all of us work through whatever mental challenge it is for whatever, like I said, I work at a university. Speaking in front of people isn't a problem. I think a lot of people in the room, if you said, hey, you've got to go talk extemporaneously in front of people for an hour, you'd die. They would just have a heart attack and die. So they get through that in a different way. And getting through sitting alone at a computer all day, you get through it a different way. I do it with a bag of Twizzlers. So, you know, it doesn't, there's no
You're
skeleton
in
key.
remarkably great shape for this bag of Twizzlers diet you're on.
Some quick, you know, kind of universal tricks are though something like you walk away from it, do the exact opposite of what you think you should do.
Yeah.
But walking away or doing the opposite of what you think should happen, even if you don't use those things, can bring up that helps a little bit.
We all have a book on writing that we all like, or you know, a story from somebody that we know, or what, you know, or somebody we learned from. I mean, a lot of us got to have mentors. Some of us didn't, you know, and a lot of times, like I said, there's no skeleton key. We've all broken stuff down a different way, and you know, so you got to figure that out.
Each other as sounding boards and have like a go-to, or how much weight do you put on, you know, a random person? Hey, just check this out.
It's what weight you put on it, like, because that's again, that's completing the circle. That getting feedback from people is the end of the circle. And for me, if I could call Frank and say, "Will you look at my thing?" He will say, "Yeah," and check it out and say, "It was really great." And I'll say, "Okay, what do you really think?" And he'll be like, "Well," and that's the best part is that all of us, you know, are at different stages in our career and different ages, and we all have a buddy that we know is better than us that we can call, and that buddy that we know is better than us will crack our thing faster than we ever will. So that's another thing that I think a lot of us have that. And you know, you develop that luxury by having good people skills, being nice to the people at cons you meet, being, you know, keeping good terms with your editors, stuff like that.
Blackmail.
Yeah. Twizzlers, yeah. They make Hershey's ones now. They're chocolate flavored Twizzlers.
I suggest just having Scott Alley as your editor, and he'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. They're not terrible. They're weird, but I mean, you do what you gotta do some days.
Red vines are way better, though. I mean, I think you would get through your stories a lot quicker if you were red vining.
You know, they make these
I love red vines.
disgusting red, white, and blue Twizzlers that are like a swirl, and they're the worst thing ever. And I didn't write for a month after I bought a bag.
Twizzlers creative writer's block.
Exactly. They saved the world some really awful stories.
Well, that is about all the time we had, so I'm really glad we ended there.
Eat Twizzlers, write comics, Star Wars comics.
Building characters with
Sponsored by
Twizzlers.
Twizzlers.
Exactly.
Does anybody in marketing have Twizzlers information? Can we get like a Twizzlers variant?
You know, Mark, I'm not gonna lie. Marketing, we're kind of a grapevines, kind of a grapevines.
Grapevines are a different
really
candy,
good.
though.
That was the first flavored red vine I was really into.
Yeah. Let's call them.
See, I'm
Licorice allegiances.
God. Now I'm playing into this thing that I was trying to make fun of. So. I'm not going to look at any of you anymore. So I want to thank all you guys for being here. One of the things that I kind of want to stress that came up a lot with these guys today, kind of over and over again, is character. And that's one of the things that we think, you know, as the comics market gets bigger and bigger and there are more and more books on the shelves, we think that we put the guys on the books that we publish that really write the best characters and really put together the best stories around those characters, because ultimately your story really is only as good as the characters in it. So how about a round of applause for all these guys up here? And again, I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Have a great last couple hours of the show. Go home and get some sleep. Thanks, everybody. Have a great